Freeze free.
Okay. We should put Grace, we're going to put
No, not really. Yeah, well, we might end up with a pedicure and water too, so.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
I normally have a listener on in front of the scan in front of me.
I think we've got two juices there.
You never know. I know, sure.
Oh, just remember.
well, do you think we should stand for the picture? We normally say it doesn't matter. Yeah. Usually stand for the okay. No, you thank God you're here. Imagine they never told us off.
That picking me up? Kia tau te Māori o runga, kia tau te Māori o raro. Paiheretia te turi wairua, paiheretia te turi tangata. He pō arahi I a tātou I tēnei wā, kia tika te whakaro, kia tika te kupu, te he Māori ora.
Kia ora.
Stay up.
Tūtira mai nā iwi, tātou tātou rei. Tūtira mai nā iwi, tātou tātou rei. Pai a te marantanga, me te aroha e nā iwi, kia kautapitahi, kia kautahi rā. Tātou tātou rei, tātou tātou rei.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, kia ora tātou, no mai, haere mai. And welcome everybody, it's great to see you. Good, welcome to you especially. It's good to see you guys here and thank you for coming. We'll start by introducing ourselves. So I'm going to start on my left. Behind you probably, Tim.
Kia ora, Tim Scandrett, and I'm the Councillor for Cashmere.
Amy Park, board advisor.
Kia ora, Carolyn Potter, board chair.
Kia ora, Aroha Nui Grace, community governance manager.
Kia ora, Kia Leslie, community board member from Cashmere.
Kia ora, Callum Ward, community board member from Spreydon.
Kia ora, I'm Lee Simpson. I'm the deputy chair and I'm based in Kashmir.
Thanks, everybody.
Kia ora.
I'm distracted by the technology.
So are we.
I know. Is it? Oh, we could share. Can't I move it on? Can't I share this with you? Yeah. Let's shove it over.
meeting now.
Is that all right? Apologies. You're leaving early, Tim. Any other apologies? Can I have a mover, please? Oh, we forgot to ask Mel. We forgot to ask Mel. I'll take the apologies and then I'll talk to Mel.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Callum. Seconded, Lee. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, abstentions carried. Sorry, Mel. I never do it perfectly. Ever, ever, ever. Would you like to say hello?
Kia ora, Melanie Coker, councillor for Spreydon. I subjected the people at council to my cold today, but not you.
Is anybody recommending that you should be going to hospital? No. Okay. Thank you, Mel. Declarations of interest, anything on the agenda? Confirmation of previous minutes. There's just one thing. The first item on the things to in members exchange is Flowers in Barrington Park, but I don't think that's right. Did anybody mention Flowers in Barrington Park?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you?
No, not me, Mel.
Did she? Mel, were there flowers in Barrington Park?
I did. Someone had put on a Facebook page about lilies, I think it was, some sort of planting had happened along the pathway. To be honest, I haven't actually been and had a look, and I haven't had any feedback about my query either.
Okay, next time I go to the library, I'll check it out. In other words, the minutes are perfect. So
I've got, sorry, just one minor correction. I'll move.
Good on you.
No,
Yeah.
it's just the, we still state the Parwa Farmers Market, and it was rebranded a few months ago as the South Christchurch Farmers Market. So if we could just correct that, that'd be great.
okay.
Yep.
With that amendment, can I have a mover and a seconder for the minutes? Lee, thank you. Tim, yeah. All those and we can do it that way, can't we? With that amendment, we can, yeah. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, abstentions carry. Public forum. No public forum today. That's a shame because we often have 3 or 4 and it's really interesting. Last week we had 3, but we haven't got any today. Public forum is when anybody in the community can come and talk to us just off their bat about any issue at all for 5 minutes. And it's great fun. We've often had really eccentric things. It's good fun. Deputations, there are no deputations. Presentation of petitions, there are no petitions. Joint meeting of minutes of the joint meeting that we held with whatever their names are, Central, Linwood, Heathcote. And I didn't find any fault with the minutes and I did check them. Is everybody okay with the minutes? All those in favour, please. Oh, sorry, can I have a mover, please? Tim, you were there. Who else was there?
I wasn't there.
Kia, were you there? Can I have you seconded? All those in favour, please say aye. Against, abstentions carry. Tony, come on up. I think probably the people here are feeling quite aggressive. Barrington Street, no stopping restrictions.
Yeah, so this is just a short section of no stopping to improve cycle safety for through cyclists on Barrington Street. No objections from submissions. So yeah, happy to answer any questions.
Lee moved, Kia seconded. Any further discussion?
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mel.
Just in the community views part, I just wondered for these 2 reports, just because it wasn't really clear exactly how, it was clear like who responded, but it wasn't clear how many people received information about it. That was all. It was just hard to see, how many letters went out and how many responses we got as proportion. That was all.
Yeah, no, that's a fair comment and I'll make sure that's included in future. For the Barrington one, it was all the adjacent properties down to Lincoln Road. So just that section of Barrington Street, and similar for Ashgrove Terrace, it was just the adjacent properties.
Thank you.
All those in favour, please say aye. Against, abstentions carried. Thank you. And Ashgrove Terrace, hello, Tony.
Yeah, so similar for this one, it's to improve visibility for cyclists exiting the school.
Yeah.
So we've been working with the school to work through some safety issues here.
Can you comment on that? Because I've stood over the road on the riverbank a couple of times and watched the kids going in. It looks to me that they've now got literally hundreds of cyclists going to school, and they're starting to do what my children's generation of cyclists going into Cashmere doing. They mass up and take over the road. So when they cross Barrington to go in the Ashgrove, Colombo to go in the Ashgrove Street entrance, they just mess up and just mass over the road. Yeah, and in that case, nobody's going to give them the flack of a bumper or anything because they're just messed up. Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, so that's sort of the driver a little bit for this proposal while we're removing that car park, because they do come out in a big group and it's often that sort of faster maybe than they should. So we're working through that, but this is sort of the first measure to at least open up that sight line to them.
I think they operate on the same principle as you're talking about. The more there are in a group, the less likely you are to get.
the other ones that have been really cool and have got riding along without their hands on them, you know.
Yeah.
Sit back.
Most of them on the bikes now look very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that this, do you know how many? Because I've asked the school, I rang the school once to ask how many cyclists they've got, and I never got a reply, and I don't blame them because they're flat out. But have you thought about how many are going to and from Cashmere on bikes now, Tony?
There's a lot. I don't know the exact number,
Yeah.
but that's probably the busiest exit for the cyclists.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot.
It is,
Yeah.
isn't it? I think it might even be back up to what it was like in the 80s.
Yeah,
You know, when 90s, when my kids were going in the 90s. It'd be interesting to know because it's a real argument for the cycleways to see that age group in so many numbers going into that school.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Is there any, I'm happy to move Tim. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Callum. Is there any further discussion on this issue? Okay, it helps with the issues that you had a little bit, Lee, with the parking on that road. It helps a little bit with that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, abstentions carried.
Cheers, Tony.
And we are now on to, this is amazing. I've never had such a short meeting. We're on to members exchange. Yeah, I know. Never had such a short meeting. Members exchange. Melanie, would you like to start? You will have been out and about breathing on people.
I have. No, I haven't. I wrote some stuff down. Oh, now I'm getting a visitor.
I want to flip it.
Yeah, hang on a moment. So there was a couple of things I wanted to mention. One was about well, actually probably just one thing related to Park Lane. So Park Lane sort of retirement village, it's on Whiteley Ave. I had one of the residents there contact me just recently and talked about two issues. One that's been brought up before. One is about their entranceway sort of not being quite a tight turn in. I probably brought it up before, but nothing eventuated at that stage. But now they're going to meet with council staff so that hopefully will progress. And then the other thing is that they've also brought up that they would like some sort of pedestrian access across Whiteley Ave to get across the road so they can go to the shops at Tower Junction, etc. Which is interesting because I think that there's lights at one end to go to Addington Shops on Lincoln Road, and there's lights also to access Tower Junction actually there, but I guess this is more about pathway of desire. So I'm just mentioning it because I have suggested to them to either write to the board or to come and give a public forum, but I haven't heard back about that. But so apparently it's quite something that's
where are they coming
desired.
from? Are they
out
coming
of,
from
out of Park Lane Retirement Village and wanting
Yes.
to go for a walk and go do some shopping, basically.
But if they go up, if they go up to, I know what you're saying, but if they go up to those lights, they've got a pedestrian crossing light.
I know. I wrote that in my response, but it's all about pathways of desire. Anyway, if they come, then I guess we can look at it and see whether there's any justification for having any other means of getting across or not. But that was, that was what was brought up. That's probably really about all I've got.
Yeah. Thanks, Mel. You don't sound any better. Tim.
I've only got one thing. I guess it's it'd be really good when we can catch up with Roy with regards to the local police, because a couple of people when I was out seeing people, they were saying that the thefts are getting a lot more blatant. And one woman said they're a cul-de-sac, and generally they don't go into cul-de-sacs because escape's harder. And so that's been a change. And they literally came up the cul-de-sac, and it was on film from the neighbour's security camera. And they just kind of did the cruise, went back down, came back up. One of them jumped out, sprinted up the driveway, straight into the garage, grabbed the push bike and ran down, threw it in the back of the car and they're gone. So it's quite blatant. So a couple of people have mentioned things have changed. So it'd be good, because I know that Roy said that we were back to 6 community patrols. So it was a sergeant and 5 or whatever it is, 10, 9 So it'll be good to talk to him about that. So
Yeah.
that's still an ongoing
Okay,
concern.
if we can remember to bring that up again when next time, and because he was crook and he couldn't come to see us. Okay, Lee.
I think we might have touched on this last week, Carolyn, but it's a bigger theme than I thought. Just people with fixed incomes. So this is probably the older population on fixed incomes, and just vocalizing how they're struggling and watching every cent, especially with regards to rates. This is probably one for Mel and Tim. I know Councillor Mange Rafford looked at an equity release or something. I just wonder if that got anywhere, because these are the circumstances that might help. Do you know if that got anywhere? Or yeah, I know he vocalized that, but I just wondered if it had any staff energy. So
Do you want staff to check it out and come back on equity release?
Well, it's because a lot of these people, they have got assets,
Yeah.
but they don't want to move. So it is partly their own problem. But
Have they remortgage though? Do the death mortgage?
a lot of people won't want to go to like a second or third tier or go to a finance entity. So they want to make it, if council could make it easy, I think there's a possibility there. So I'm just saying it's a bigger trend than I anticipated I was going to hear.
Sure.
So it is, there's genuine need there.
Yeah.
So
Yep, sure.
yeah, okay.
So we'll just ask that question. Is that all right?
Yeah, so do you want that to be a formal
Formal
request in the
resolution?
minutes
If we could,
to,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for staff to ask council for some advice on the issue of equity release that was raised in Raf Mangy's time.
We'll find the wording. Yeah,
Okay,
we'll find the
yeah.
wording, but yeah.
I was just referring it to Raf Mangy because that might give us a clue that it's back 10 years.
Oh, no,
8, 6,
it's probably only,
Yeah,
less than that.
it was in the paper this morning. That's how I remember,
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So we got that kind of wording, assuming that Amy's got the wording reasonably correct. Do you want to move it?
If it needs moving.
Yeah.
oh,
it's
you
just
don't,
an
No,
agenda.
you
no,
don't need to move
we
it,
don't
just,
need to
just
move it.
agreement by the
agreement.
board.
You've
Yeah.
got agreement. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Helen.
Well, two things. One, both you probably might have seen on email. I just had a question from someone in the public who's read in the paper about the changes to Lincoln, Whiteley Ave, Barrington intersection, and just an element of the changes that they hadn't seen in the consultation. And I suspect it's quite a minor change around raising the platform pedestrian area. Just want to be able to get back to him about where that change happened in the process. That's really all that I think he's interested in, because it wasn't part of the original documentation that we reviewed or that went out to the public.
So if we can just ask that question.
Yeah.
When was the raised platform for the intersection?
So the article it's on Newsline.
I bet it was in there.
Yeah, I've asked that question of staff, and the transport unit is looking into it, so that should be forthcoming pretty quickly, that
I
information.
mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
Could we make that assumption that it's forthcoming because Amy's already asked for it? Okay. Yeah.
And the other thing was, which you also probably would have seen, is the idea for a mural on Barrington Library, which I thought was Spreydon Library, which I thought was a really great idea. And I'd made the assumption that I just didn't really know how it worked when it came to the Selwyn Street toilets. Was that something that had been done voluntarily, or had he been commissioned for that?
Well, Jay, do you want to speak to that? Oh, Watanabe, you're online. Do you want to speak to that? I think you were the staff person involved with that. If you're there at the moment. If he's, oh, yeah.
Yep, I'm sorry, I just missed that.
Oh, just asking about the because the muralist who did the Selwyn Street toilet block is curious about opportunities for doing more. I'm just wondering if he was he, based on my question, was he paid for that work, or was he?
Yes, yeah, he was paid, and he did. When I went down there the weekend that they were doing it, he did express that he was interested in doing more community work if there was anything out there. Yeah, and he did specifically mention, I heard you mention before, the Barrington Library or the Spreydon Library. He did mention that as well to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in the business of promoting in a way, because I'd rather that the residents themselves thought it was a good idea. But where would we introduce this to Spreydon Network?
I absolutely think so. Yeah. That's my intention is to raise it with them. I'll just tell them to go talk to them, I guess, is the first place. But yeah, I mean, he'll take the idea to them and they can take it or leave it. But
and you'd probably take into account the librarians too, view.
Yes,
way,
absolutely.
in some way.
Yeah. So I've asked him to, on Amy's advice, to reach out to the head of Spreydon Library.
So no further action?
No further
at the
action just
moment?
yet. Just wanted to
watching brief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, sorry, clarification. My question was whether it's paid or not. And I guess part of that is in terms of how do we go about offering work like that to artists? Because it sort of seems like the kind of thing that there should be a bit of an option for a public or at least multiple offers or
I don't know how it happens either, because Craycroft is just doing one at the moment. And I actually, they told me all about it, the chairperson and everything, but I don't know how it actually works. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they, if somebody decides they want a artwork, I don't know how they would reach out to a circle of artists to see which one they like. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So in the new board, you might like to think about asking for some advice from the arts team, to give us a briefing on how we approach them and things. Yeah.
I'll ask that now if that's all right.
Yeah.
I mean,
it might be a good idea to wait for the new board.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, you can do what you like.
Well, I mean, by the time they get around to us, it might be,
Yeah. So have you made a notion for that?
Yeah, I think for murals like that, there is an internal process. I don't know if it necessarily goes through the arts team or not, but yeah, we can definitely get you that information on what that process is.
Yeah, I'd be really keen
Yeah.
to hear about that.
Okay. No, not for those sorts of small murals. It's parks and
Summerfield was the same, it was just community
Wait,
driven.
it depends where it
And they did it themselves.
Yeah.
The library will be different.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Here, nothing. I'd like to request that the incoming board be briefed on the lower Heathcote guidance plan with a view to perhaps writing and implementing a similar plan for the upper Heathcote. I'm not saying doing it. I'm just saying to be put in front of the incoming board. Is that all right? I know I'm the wrong person to suggest that, but I'm just saying, would that be appropriate?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Have you got the wording there? Yeah. So there's general agreement on that. Is that okay? Yeah. Yesterday morning, I had a meeting with the disability committee. I phrase it like that because I think accessibility is so ambiguous as to be meaningless. But the committee headed by Aaron Kean on issues of disability was really interesting. I tell you, the building that we were looking at was Tapai. The boss of Tapai came and reported to us, which was gripping in itself. I didn't know that there were so many functions already going on in there. I had no idea. He said most weeks, most days, there's something, somewhere. I was amazed by it. And also they have a real principle of local purchasing. So the wine is local. They mentioned, and all the other foodstuffs, etc., were people that we're familiar with, local organisations and structures. And it was a very interesting report. And they were reporting on disability access, and they seem to have been done a better job than perhaps elsewhere, So that was interesting in itself. But the other person who presented at the board was Smart City. And I know very little about this, and I don't know whether you guys are interested in it. But for instance, they can show all the disability car parks, whether they're empty or not. You know, whether they've got someone parking there. So you can be sitting in your car saying, show me the nearest disability car park, and it shows you the nearest disability car park and shows you it's empty, you know. So I was just interested in perhaps you guys holding that in your heads, because I wasn't familiar with this tool, and seeing if you wanted to raise it. Jonathan Henson asked me to come down to Spreydon Domain while they planted 20 kahikatea trees day before yesterday. I know, with the tree tech staff. And the kahikatea trees are like this. And I don't think they're going to cause angst in the community, because the whole planting is designed for when the exotics start falling over, because there are quite a few in there that are getting old. And so they're planting, they asked me to come down because of my 16 years of nagging, and for the kahika trees. I was thrilled. And I went back with a sponge cake and a dozen beer. So, which is a bit weird, you know, a sponge cake with cream doesn't really go with the beer, but you know.
I'm sure it went so well.
Spreydon Domain has a sign put up by the City Council which says Gaelic sport, the home of Gaelic sport, something like that. Gaelic sport, because they've taken, I think they're taking into account the whole range of Gaelic sports. I don't know if Kiraroo Club and suburbs were consulted on this, home of Gaelic sports, but I just wondered. I just wondered if you guys wanted to bear it in mind, actually, because the sign went up there without advice.
That'd be because they're next door to the Irish Society.
Yes, that's right. But do they have a home of Maori sport anywhere in Christchurch?
This is going to start a fight.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah, I know. I know. And so I just wondered about that, because it's got the City Council insignia on. And lastly, I spoke to a bunch of students learning St John's. Apparently St John's wants to take over from Scouts and Guides. Apparently it's not just about being St John's. They want to have a youth force, just, you know, like Scouts and Guides. And his name was Patrick O'Connor. And he asked me to speak to this group of, I don't know, 30 young people, 40, something like that. And as I said before, the 8-year-olds were gripped and the 15-year-olds were, I know, I ticked them off. Swine. So that was my report. Yeah. What's that? Oh, yes. Sorry, I forgot about this. Request that staff investigate extending cycle lanes at the Centaurus Road, Wilson's Road, Albert Terrace roundabout to 251 Centaurus Road. The staff would rather be left to negotiate this and perhaps even come back, not having done it, after the 6-month review on the plan as approved. But if we wanted to put that in, that's the format we have to put it in, and we didn't do that last time. We left it unconsidered.
The other thing that we missed off is, remember in front of the Albert Terrace where it came out to extend the green paint, and we thought that when it was over, we talked about that because we missed that one. So could we add that as well?
It just troubled me.
Because the parking was, I kind of, that question, it's a good move, but if they could see, if they could look at the green, so if they're going to look at the review, it's 6 months, look at those two things.
Do you want to put this down as a review associated with the review by the board in 6 months of or do you want this to go through now for their consideration and advice back to us? Because we did it informally on the day, and that was my fault. Assuming that they would take it on board and have a look at it, but that's the advice that we've had informally back.
Yeah. Have we got staff advice?
Well, the traffic staff have said that their preference would be to, you know, implement the design that you approved at the last meeting, and also you asked to for them to look at extending the no stopping lines.
Yeah, because the
And so-
merging's can't.
Yeah, and Tony actually thinks that that will take care of a lot of the issues.
Yep.
And so to look at that first, and then, just as part of her standard work, she'll assess how everything has worked in a period of time. And if something like extending the cycle lanes was, something that would be helpful at that time, then to look at that then. That's her preference.
I don't want to delay anything at the moment. I
Hmm.
think we need to move forward. So if I'm happy at 6
What
months.
about the green paint? Okay, so leave it go. Do we note? Do we note something? Do we refer it to
Well,
the incoming board, or what do we do?
It depends what you want to do. If you want to
I'll tell
leave
you
it.
what, if we have a 6-month review, you guys will know. what you're
I
going
think,
through.
I
Well,
think
the
that,
new board will.
yeah,
know,
I think the best thing to do would probably be to leave it sort of open-ended, have Tony do her review. She can come back with her recommendations. And at that point, if those don't include a cycle lane, but you still, think that that would be helpful, then to raise it again, then. Yeah, I can mention that to her offline. Yeah. Yeah, I'll catch up with you after. Okay.
And finally, I just want to note, I would like to note my gratitude to the staff for their acknowledgement of my time in the chair, and my gratitude to staff for giving me the flowers and the recognition. And I want to put that in the minutes because I want it to go into town to note what the staff did for me. And I'd just like to formally thank them, but I am going to write. I am going to write. I might write to Jay separately and ask about the bullets going through the scalp, But if you could write something like that, and with all my heart, gratitude with all my heart. I hate being the centre of attention, but I felt very touched. Thank you very much. Is there anything else?
I actually just remember one thing. So after that fantastic briefing on vaping we had,
Yeah.
I bumped into the principal of one of the primary schools around our part of town, who I told her about that. And she said, I've got a desk drawer full of vapes that she's confiscated off kids. Yeah.
Primary school.
Yeah.
That just breaks my heart, You
Mm.
can't tell me you can blow smoke into your lungs and it's not damaging. What's that?
Mm.
Oh, right. Can we make a note of that too? Just can we make a note that a principal of a local primary school noted that she was confiscating vaping? Yeah. Okay, I'm coming to you, Mel. Just to note that in our minutes, because that's important. That's just so depressing. And I'm really glad that you identified the third vaping shop in the square. Okay, no more. Oh, Mel, sorry, Mel.
Thanks, Carolyn. I forgot one thing from elected members exchange, but with the vaping, my dad drives a school bus and he says they always go to the back of the bus where they vape back there, the young kids, and he's driving so he doesn't get their vapes off them. But the thing I forgot to say that I did go to was Gainsborough Reserve, the fruit planting for the fruit trees, and it was, I'm sure that was after the last meeting, and yeah, it was really good. There was about 30 people there. There's heaps of photos on Facebook. It was just really well done. And Simeon had done lots of work and he took a video of it, of the whole thing that's, you can watch sped up. And yeah, it was really fantastic. And Holly was there, and there was Michael Reynolds there from the Roy Martin Food Commons explaining how to plant, how to prune, how to stake, who thought there were so many things. I didn't realise all the little nitty gritty things about planting trees. So yeah, it was really brilliant.
Is there any chance you could send us a couple of photographs, perhaps without any ID of children, and particularly, that we could put in the report to council on Thursday? Because it's the last report of this board.
Yeah, for next week. Yeah.
If you could get that to Amy.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. And if anybody else has got interesting photographs to get to Amy, of anything this week, that would be great too. Is that all? Kia? Pardon?
Yes, to close.
Yeah.
No,
There's nobody else wants to say anything, hey?
Standard this one as
Yes. Are you going to say no to Grace? More than what I'm going to do.
Tukuna te wairua, kia rere ki te taumata. Ko te matatika, te matapono, he arahia, ina mahi. Ka arotahi, te tira kia iki panuku, kia iki tangaroa. Haumia e, huia e, tai ki e.
Thanks very much. That was so good, Kia. You and I think even I've improved, but that was really good. We've improved so much. Thank you very much, everybody. If you want to interview anybody, I guarantee they'll talk to you. If you want to say hello to anybody, that was the shortest meeting we've ever had, because at this time before an election, we're not allowed to do controversial things. So, but if you want
should
to
tell
talk to,
Leanne that.
yeah, but if you want to, if you guys want to interview any one of these guys, they'd be happy to talk to you. So pinch one. Pardon?